All right.
Okay, so thank you for taking the time to meet with us, David or David, depending on what you prefer. Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about you? Your name, where you're from,
Hmm.
where you're studying, and yeah, let's start there.
Okay. Well, my name is David Lazar Garrido, and I was born in the United States of America in California, just like the rest of my siblings. I come from an American father and a Spanish mother, and that's why when I was 4 years old, I moved to Spain and received most of my formal like middle school and high school education there. Um, and then after that, based mostly on me wanting to expand my horizons and see the world a little, and based on my siblings' influence after they studied abroad, I thought I would do the same thing. So I looked into and discovered a few programs around the Netherlands, and eventually I settled for Amsterdam, and now I study at the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences, or the HVA. And yeah, I study international sports management and business. And I'm in my third year, currently going into my fourth, where we start our internship program at university, where it's more focused on, of course, as the name says, applied learning. Um, and yeah, it's a critical point in our careers at the moment because oftentimes a lot of the ISMB alumni they end up working for the companies that they did their internships with. So that currently is my plan as well. So that's basically where I stand at the moment.
Wonderful. And where are you doing your internship?
That is yet to be determined. I'm hoping to be able to work with one of my colleagues from the past at a surf school that I worked with, and he founded his own travel agency with an emphasis on sports, specifically surfing. And I'm hoping to be able to take part of that, well, to form part of his team because he's repeatedly invited me, and I think it's one of those atmospheres that would be appropriate for me. But I've still to survey my options a little more and figure exactly where I want to go with my professional career. Um, but I think this internship period, this upcoming internship period, is actually very valuable for that because it gives you the opportunity to see what you might not like as much, and maybe something clicks immediately, and then you can jumpstart your career without further ado. So I am excited for that period, and regardless of where it takes me, I think it'll give me some answers.
Great. As long as we're on the subject, David, why don't you tell us a little bit about the internship year? We'll go back and talk about some of the other years maybe as well, but I'm interested in hearing what does the internship year look like? How is it structured? How do you decide your internship?
Mm.
And, how many internships are you doing?
Yeah. So basically, our program is mostly, and actually, a lot of students come to the program because of the internship system, because we have three internships in total. One is during the second year, and it's a quarter long. So every year has 4 quarters, every academic year. And during the third quarter in our second year, we do what they call basically kind of like an initiation internship, where we work for a company for 10 weeks and we figure out, it helps us figure out whether we want to get into the more like commerce side of sports or development or high performance. And I did mine in a triathlon and endurance sports retailer here in Amsterdam. And it was an experience that is for certain what they aim to be. It's applied learning. It really is. So it was really valuable for me on the one hand because I learned about things that I was very unfamiliar with and got working experience. And it also told me that, well, it made me see that commerce isn't necessarily the area that I want to specialize in. But that's why they give you the entire fourth year for internships. It's two internships, 1 semester long each, And for each, you have to basically do a research project or some sort of project that you later have to expose the results to both your internship supervisor and your personal coach at university, to just so they can get an understanding of the work you've done and what you've accomplished at the company. And then of course for your graduation internship, the second one of those two, um, you can also do a research project, but basically you also have to do your thesis based on your work at the company. So a lot of students, what they also choose is after our third year, and if you've collected all your credits so far, you can also, there's no pressure for you to graduate. So you can take half a year or even a year off before you start your internships, which is also another appealing side to many students, because either they've been burnt out throughout the years and between studying and working, because sometimes it's a little difficult to balance student work and personal life. So what happens is, yeah, a lot of these students just take their time and do a fifth year of ISMB. And that's a common thing to do in our program also. So I like that it gives you that freedom and that it gives you the options to, discover a bit more about what you like before being forced into something that might not align with your interest completely.
That's great. I mean, that flexibility sounds really wonderful. Do you think that you'll take advantage of that and graduate a little bit later?
Personally, my objective is to graduate within the 4 years, because I already took a gap year before starting school. So I had that hiatus already, and I think at the moment I don't need another one. I'll see after university how things are going, but I do like, it was definitely, it gave me like a sense of security to know that there wasn't as much pressure as I initially put on myself to complete this program within the set time frame, and that it's not frowned upon either. It's just a common occurrence in ISMB.
Great. David, let's go back in time a little bit here, because I want to ask you about, your chosen, major, as we'd say in the States, right? Sports management. Is it something that you knew that you wanted to do when you were applying? Is it something that, you were weighing against other possible courses of study? How did you choose it?
Well, I mean, growing up, I was always pretty uncertain of what I wanted to do. I had once in a while a couple of clear ideas or clearer, but then it really started when I actually mentioned to my parents and my family that I had an interest in sports, and it was honestly one of the only things that really appealed to me. So not wanting to, well, not having the opportunity to become a professional athlete, which is not exactly something I was looking for in the first place. And also wanting to get more involved in the background scene of sports and basically how the show is run. I thought that I'd get involved in sports at first and then look for programs around Spain and look for programs around the UK, for example. But then it was always Europe, like centered in Europe. But in the end, after discussing with a couple of my siblings' friends who studied here in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam actually, and they told me about their experience, and it really had quite the appeal to me. And honestly, the idea of coming to study in Amsterdam, a place that I'd never been in either before coming here, was it was really good to me. And seeing a program that really aligned with my interests, and that was exactly the type of learning that I enjoy the most, which is applied and really getting you out into the field and kind of seeing who you are as both a student and a professional in a sense. That was a main part of the appeal of the program for me. And once I got in, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to come here and have what's so far been an unbelievable experience, both from a university standpoint and the people you meet, the context, the unbelievable network that this school has as well. Um, and then also just from a personal experience point of view, I'd say that's where I gained, well, it was even more valuable to me, which was just how it develops you as a person really, and how much you learn and how you grow independent. So it was mostly everything that I was looking for before, which was getting out of my comfort zone, learning about something I'm truly interested in, and gaining experience within the professional work life, and um, more serious aspects of life, I suppose. That was that's what I set out to accomplish, and so far it's met my expectations completely, and flip them around once in a while as well.
Certainly, when I hear you talk about it, your enthusiasm really comes through, and that's nice to see. I'm interested to hear a little bit about sort of the experience of university in the Netherlands, your sense of it, right? I mean, obviously you know your school's experience best, but as a student with an international background, that sort of straddles Spain and the US. You probably have some familiarity with what the university experience is like in those countries. So I'm interested to hear from you. How do you think the experience in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and specifically at Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences, how do you think that it's different from the experience you might have had if you had chosen to go to the UK, in Spain, the US, whichever of those experiences you're interested in talking about?
Yeah. Well, I'm familiar with the UK and the Spain experience more than I am with the US one. But because, well, both my siblings studied in the United Kingdom, so I was able to get an impression from that. And then, of course, my friends, they stayed in Spain and they told me about it. And what I've heard from their experiences that differed to mine mostly was, the system, of course, and the program has a lot to do with it. But there's a certain sense of, I would say, freedom and almost kind of laid back here in a sense, that because since the year is longer and our summer starts a little later, I believe they spread everything out it's a bit more vast, so you have a bit more time to just not only work and focus on university but do other things as well. And for me, it's been represented, I think, in a very good balance between social work and university life in general. So I think that's what differs. What I see personally is that I've been able to kind of achieve that balance a little better than I remember. Yeah, well, my friends and my siblings, every time, even months before their exam season, they were already, just deep deep into the studying mentality, right? And they were always focused on the next thing. And I believe that here, at least in my experience, has been really about they make you focus a lot on the journey, and that was really what had meaning to me, because it's always been kind of difficult to not build up certain anxieties about your own future, and them helping you work towards what you are right now and what you are going to become is, I think, a main part of what the appeal is to me here. But in general, also, I mean, here in Amsterdam, the another main factor for me was the international environment, of course. I mean, most of the students here, most of my friends are all internationals, and the community, and any degree that you're coming that is going to be English speaking, it's mostly filled with internationals. So the community is huge here. Whereas in Spain, the US and the UK had a bit more of an international side to it as well. But I know that in Spain, it's much more limited. And I know that Spanish people are predominant in Spanish universities. And then I'm not exactly sure how it is in the United States, but here for certain, there's an emphasis on creating that international community. And yeah, you can see it from our school, the HVA, to the University of Amsterdam, and then to the Vrije Universiteit, which, yeah, for me is also just a huge part of the city's appeal.
Great. You know, you've mentioned flexibility a couple times. You've mentioned also, you know, this sort of lack of pressure, you know, feeling like, you know, you're supported to enjoy the journey of university as you figure out what it is you're doing. One of the questions that's sort of been percolating in my mind as you talk is about, you know, where people go after studying, you know, your degree, right? Obviously, you know, the sort of the clearest choice is sports management. It is a sports management program, but of course, in a sports management program, you're also learning a lot of really important business skills that I think translate into other types of businesses. So I'm curious to hear a little bit from you. You know, I think, you know, many students going into a program that's as specific as this might have some anxieties about, well, what if I don't like it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to ask you, what are you seeing your classmates go into other fields besides sports management as well as sports management? And you know, what kind of support for them is there?
Yeah. That's a really good question, actually, because our program, we also have what they call a minor. So it's basically a specialized period, which is one semester for us at the beginning of third year, where you can choose to study either abroad or our university or even another university in the Netherlands. They give you plenty of options for that, which is already it's great because anything that you seek out for yourself, you're going to be able to yeah, you can talk to the university about it, and they can agree to give you like a place in anywhere you want in the world, basically. And that's where you specialize in a certain subject. And me, I went for the sports road, so I took the minor in high performance sport. But I know a lot of students that did something completely different to what sports management is, and they had full support from university, which is something that I also like because you can either relate it to your education right now, or you can just give it a chance to see if you like it more or less. And for example, a couple of my friends, I know they want to do another minor next year, and they're doing it focusing on leadership. I believe it's Buddhism and leadership, which is completely different to the sports side of things, but can also correlate. There's examples of famous coaches and sports managers that take these different philosophies into account. So in the end, what the school encourages is just kind of bringing everything full circle, so that there's a deep there's like a deeper correlation to what you can align your passions basically with this small period, this semester long of other learning. But also know other students that did it in like HR and communications, and and also PR. And I also was looking into doing something related to psychology because I'm interested in the world of sports psychology, and working with athletes would be it also has a great appeal to me. So they really give you an incredible amount of options and a lot of support towards doing what you want to do, which is quite nice. Mhm.
That's terrific. So, David, what would you say, you know, if you had to name three things that are your favorite things about your university experience, whether it be specific to the university itself or to Amsterdam or to the Netherlands. I'm interested to hear, sir, what are the big selling points for students that are thinking about taking the plunge?
Hmm. Well, for me, it's I'd say it might sound as not so positive, but one of the things was definitely the uncertainty. The the fact that it's new, it's out of your comfort zone, and everything, a lot of things that you're gonna encounter, whether it's people, situations, or simply just the culture here, it's gonna surprise you. And I really like that feeling of surprise, of um the only thing that I'm expecting is maybe something new and something just completely different than the last thing, right? So I'd say that's a main part of it. Um, Second is the fact that in university we're not only specifically learning about our education and about sports management, but kind of sub in a I don't know, in a subconscious sense, we are learning how to kind of work our way around life. So it's just basically becoming a bit more proactive, taking more initiatives, and in general learning how to be independent through your education and through your living situation. I think that's very valuable and it proves to me that getting an education here was the right move, at least from my perspective. And then the third thing I would say is just simply the people. I mean, for me, I'm a social creature, as are we all, I think, and it was just I expected to make good connections because I've heard countless stories of people making lifelong friends in college, but it's true that yeah, all those cliches are right because you're going to you're going to have to rely on one another, especially if you're in similar situations. So going through good times, struggles, and everything in between with people that are reliable, mature, and looking for the same things that you're looking for in life is a very unique feeling and something that is definitely going to stick with me throughout probably my whole life. So I'd say those are the three things that I like the most.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the people are what make or break any experience, right? And it may be a cliche, but it's absolutely the truth, right? So let me ask you about the other side. What has been the biggest challenge for you in university?
Um, I'd say creating a routine is something I've struggled with and I still struggle with. So, creating a routine for my studies, for just in general your daily life, because I feel like for most students, it's necessary and it's healthier to create a sense of consistency, right? And um, I've been a bit of an inconsistent person, so sometimes it is difficult to balance that out. But there are so many methods, there are so many people willing to help you for that. And in my case, even my school, there it's not so much about just going to lectures, but it's also about the teachers looking out for you and students looking out for each other. So as long as you have that kind of support network, I feel like it's going to be much easier for you to create something like that. But yeah, creating a routine, and then of course, I mean, as an international, I'm very close with my family, and being away from them is sometimes difficult. So there are some emotional upsides and downsides to the situation, but I think they're also just necessary and more than anything, growth opportunities. So even though there's struggles, I believe they're there for a reason, and it's just basically it's showing us how to overcome adversity in a sense, and yeah, learning how to mm, I don't know, be all right with yourself because you're gonna be alone a lot of the time especially if you're starting off from scratch in a new country. So I think it's just basically learning about what you like, yeah, what you like, who you are, and then surrounding yourself with the people that are appropriate to who you are. And I think that also might be a struggle for some students is they need to be themselves, to express themselves. And I think for me personally, it's when I was in that context that everything was made easier for me. Once you accept that you can be who you want to be in an experience like this, in a city like Amsterdam, where it's all about freedom and just basically and independence. It's mostly about knowing yourself, and then I think you can get through most of what comes towards you, you know. But yeah.
Well, let me ask you about one of those things that maybe came at you in your experience. The sort of big elephant in the room for anyone considering studying in the Netherlands is, of course, housing, which is a big challenge. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience with housing and how you found it and how you went about it?
Well, I was lucky enough that it was I knew I had two future roommates that I wanted to move in with, so we already had that set group, and searching for things like each on our own time, and but every one of us being involved in finding housing was definitely a main part of it. But it's true that we were pretty lucky with housing. And for the first year, I got student housing, so that was definitely an advantage there. But then after the first year, you have to leave and you have to find something on your own, or at least that's what I wanted to do. So I'd say you have to, especially in Amsterdam, you have to take what comes as soon as it comes, basically. And it's first come first serve basis a lot of the time, and it's not entirely worth it to do a search, a very premature search, because since everything is coming and going so quick, and any house or apartment that pops up is going to go within the week, basically. um, so I'd say the best is to try and establish a network here, because everyone always knows someone that is either subletting or renting out a room, or basically even sometimes renting out like rooms in already like family houses. But these families are willing to give you accommodation or give students accommodation for a certain period of time. So I would say the best is having a network, and I didn't really have that. So using the tools that they probably expose in when suggesting like how to find housing, which is like websites like room.nl or funda.nl, things like those are more reliable. But there's a big luck factor behind the whole thing. But it's true that all you have to do is be give it like a month or something like that before you arrive here, and make a thorough search, find something that you would like, find some possible roommates that you could that you could live with comfortably. And then just basically take something as soon as it pops up. If it seems viable, go for it. I'd say don't have unbelievable expectations, but that's my advice.
Right. So it sounds like if somebody offers you a place, you can't say, let me call you back in 10 minutes. You have to say, no, no, I'll take it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Um, and I'm assuming while you were in student housing your first year, that's when you found your roommates.
Yes, they're both also in the same program that I study, and they were in the same situation. They were in student housing, so after 1 year, we were getting kicked out, right? So we had to find something, and then it was in July after the first year that our roommate on actually the last day he was here was able to secure this apartment. But it was definitely, there was luck involved there. But that's why, if you can, use your network, and if not, just know that yeah, it's first come, first served basis.
Great. Just a couple more questions I want to ask you, David. The first one is about social life. What is the social life like at school? Is much of the social life focused around school? Does it tend to be focused around the city of Amsterdam itself? And tell us a little bit about that side of things.
Well, the good thing is that it can be both. It can be, I mean, on my side, I mean, of course, you meet everyone at school, and immediately in our program, well, and through introduction week, they encourage you to become close and to find kind of your people, to find your group, which for me was great. And being able to meet that many people and see, well, how many interesting people there were at my program and in Amsterdam in general was, well, definitely a perfect Kickstarter for me. But it's true that by going out with them, and especially since there are Dutch people in the program and at university, you can just start to meet people from all around the place, other universities, and the city really encourages that. Basically, everyone feels like they're open for just a talk. And even if you go out, if it's more like nightlife you're looking for, or something more relaxing, just go out for a cafe, there's always people around the street, and there are always a lot of young people. So it's basically like the city is encouraging you to meet new people, to form those connections. And I'm lucky that I've made great connections in both my school and outside of it. And there's always going to be a friend of like your family's friends or something that has a son or daughter or someone working or studying here in Amsterdam, right? Since it's such a spotlight and an international spotlight, I'd say. So I think it's great. For me, it was fantastic because it's so much social life. So beware, because you can get burnt out from it. But it's also, yeah, it's very encouraging, very welcoming. So I think anyone can fit in here, and anyone can meet interesting people here.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like you've had a wonderful experience,
Mhm.
which is delightful to hear. Um, any anything else that you would add, for somebody that is considering, studying business or studying sports management, and then, UAS is on their radar. What is there anything you'd like to add?
Um, I would say don't be afraid to make a leap and actually sign up for a course that sounds appealing to you, or something that really could interest you. Because in my experience in university, not everyone, I mean, people were, of course, they were sure about joining the program and they liked the idea so much, but most people don't know exactly which direction they're headed in. And just because you do a program like this doesn't mean that it won't give you opportunities in the future, or it won't allow you to do anything else in the future. Because well, it's just, I also know there's alumni from our school that completely changed the course of their careers as well. And I just think that it's whatever you choose, whatever you choose, and if you're thinking about considering this, know that it's not a mistake. And even if you have to drop out, it's still not a mistake. There is no such thing as a mistake when you're picking a degree. I don't think. I think you're always gonna learn. You're always gonna find something in yourself that makes you keep growing. So I just say, don't be afraid to take that leap. And if you're trying to convince yourself or tell yourself that it might not be for you, or that it's risky, or that it's scary, I would say just go for it. It's, yeah, the best thing you can do is try something out. And I mean, even if it doesn't work out, it's fine. You still get something out of it. You learn always.
Well, I think that the positive attitude that you bring to it, should be a good lesson for anyone that's listening to talk about your experience, because it sounds like even though there have been some challenges, it's been primarily a very, very wonderful experience for you. But I think some of that is the attitude that you bring to it, David. So I want to congratulate you on that. It's a wonderful quality. And also, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us and to tell us about your experience, especially now, because I know you've got exams coming up in the next couple of weeks. So I know it's a busy time for you. And I know that, future students that are considering this will really appreciate it. So thank you.
No, of course, anytime. And yeah, I mean, the mentality, it's just, it's something that Amsterdam mostly gave me. I have to give credit where credit is due, because there are plenty of struggles that come along with it. But it's true that at the end of the day, putting things in perspective and seeing what a wonderful experience this has been so far is all I need. And I just count myself lucky that I am here.
Well, I can't really think of higher praise for you to confer upon Amsterdam than that. It really speaks volumes about your experience there. So thank you so much, David. It's been a pleasure.
Of course, Adam, anytime.